Now, if you look at the numbers of big bikes sold in the Indian market compared to the general motorcycle market, it's negligible. It's almost not even there. It's not that there aren't enough enthusiasts who want the bikes, it's just that we haven't had very practical options at the right price. But Ducati now is planning to change some of that with this, the Monster 796. Ducati's Monster has been a style icon in the motorcycle world. Right from the start, it created a primal new language where no words were needed. One look at the Monster and it made a mark on you. The impression that the 796 also makes isn't just of raw brute force. It adds intrigue to it with a sullen, antisocial strain in the way it speaks to you through your eyes. Setting the mood is the sunken, sullen headlamp. It sits low down and has a band running through it. The division line is the parking light. The top section is the low beam. And the lower section is the high beam. Taking center stage, though, is the plastic-bodied dummy tank. Its size makes it seem like a well-muscled torso, with some vents cut into it, though they aren't just there to make it look tough. These vents channel cool air down to the engine, and the famous 90-degree L-twin engine is wrapped up with Ducati's super strong trellis frame. The Monster just reeks of toughness. The 43mm inverted forks are like tree trunks, while the double disc brakes from Brembo and the matte black alloy rims with red detailing look like beautiful shields. The instrument cluster is tightly packed but proved to be easy to read. The rider's seat is set low within the bike. The pillion seat, however, is a little higher up and a bit too small. With the exhaust sitting at the pillion seat side, it isn't a very comfortable place to be. Meanwhile, right at the back, there's a slim little tail lamp with LEDs for a bejeweled look. Now, part of the charm of owning a big bike is knowing that it's gonna earn you some extra attention. And the Monster, with its aggressive look, with its muscular stance, does that without batting an eyelid. It gets a 10 on 10 from me. It's just so impressive and it definitely draws the stares. But along with that, it has to have the go to match the show. And we were riding the Monster around all day to figure out how it performs. At the heart of the matter is the 90-degree V-twin motor displacing 803cc, so it doesn't need to be homologated. The engine uses Ducati's famous desmodromic valve system, which gives it a very mechanical, thrashy sound. Well, it's not just beautiful noise here, as the Monster punches out an incredible 87 bhp of power at 8,250 rpm. And there's a massive 8 kgm of torque at 6,250 rpm. The Monster is a sporty bike for the city, so its 9,000 rpm red line is conservative but understandable. However, out on the highway, the Monster felt like a real monster. Once you clear the 4,000 rpm mark, it pulled all the way up to the 9,000 rpm limit without any hesitation. The 6-speed gearbox was great to use, and the hydraulic clutch, it had mind-blowing feel. Put the hardware to good use and the Monster hits 0 to 60 in 2.5 seconds and 100 comes up in 4.4 seconds. To hit 160, it takes just another 5.5 seconds. That is some serious acceleration. While cruising out on the highway, you can feel the throb of the L-twin motor through the handlebars. It can cruise pretty easily as well at speeds over 100 km an hour. The only problem is the small wind deflector, which means you get a solid blast of wind to your face, and that can be a bit tiring. The Monster, however, is meant more for the city, and we tested it there too, to see how it would fare on a day-to-day basis. As it turned out, the Monster could be ridden around without getting hassled. The V-twin motors are famous for their torquiness, which is great for the city. Well, the Monster's L-twin engine doesn't like taking things easy. Keep it in a high gear at low speeds and you'll find that it feels a little bit snatchy. Instead, drop a couple of gears, keep it on the boil, and it just feels so happy. The slightest hint from your right wrist and it'll just zip ahead. And not just that, head out onto the highway for a weekend run
and feel quite at home out on the highway, holding nice triple-digit speeds. Of course, just keep in mind you won't be doing very long distances on that. This is pretty much a sporty city bike, so to speak, because the seating is also quite aggressive. You have that slight forward lean stance to it, but you can have a lot of fun on nice winding roads, as I found out.
The brakes on the Monster were an absolute joy to use. The feel and the power from the Brembos was astonishing. You could use just one finger for braking duties. Braking from 60 to standstill was done in an astonishing 16 meters. An ABS option makes things safer still. With the super sticky Pirelli Diablo Rosso tires at both ends, the firm suspension setup, and the wide open handlebar, you could just point the Monster into corners without batting an eyelid. It felt completely committed. It's an easy motorcycle to ride hard, and even if you get things wrong, lifting off helps a lot. Pro riders would like to opt for Ducati's lap timer to track exact progress. However, the firm setup meant that you had to take a bit of care around corners on our roads. We spent several kilometers in the saddle, and it proved to be ample and well padded. At the end of it, there was no numbness creeping in. Of course, we tested the Monster out in the city as well. The Monster weaved around rickshaws, shot past buses, clambered through potholes, and squeezed through gaps at red lights. Typical Monster stuff. Except for making quick U-turns, it sailed through it all.
Now, the best thing about the Monster is the way it shrink wraps itself around you. After some time, you forget that you're using an 803cc motorcycle. It just points itself wherever you want to go with so much ease. And then, of course, it's a Ducati, so handling is great. Along with that, the suspension setup is a bit on the firm side, keeping its sporty intentions in mind. But overall, it's comfortable unless you hit some really rough patches of road. So all in all, it is quite a practical motorcycle. And talking about practicality, do you really want to know what the fuel efficiency is?
Sure, the Monster can be used as an everyday bike, and its fuel efficiency is quite decent too. In the city, it managed 18.8 kilometers per litre and 23.5 kilometers per litre out on the highway, which is more than acceptable for a motorcycle with 803cc and nearly 90 bhp.
So Ducati 796 is all set to help you strike the right pose, and on top of that, it's got Ducati performance on tap, which you can use on weekends and on weekdays. Just keep in mind that L-twin motor is a bit on the aggressive side, likes to be kept on the boil, but then the sound it makes is just so intoxicating. You'll want to listen to that and that only. And along with that, of course, the biggest telling story about this is its price point. At 8.2 lakh rupees ex-showroom Mumbai, this is the easiest entry into the Ducati family. Actually, it's the easiest entry into the big sports bike world. So if you're planning on getting yourself a big bike, you know where to head first.